All right, my friends, let's talk about a very important concept to grow your Instagram account and a very important strategy that you might have heard at some point, but you just either didn't want to listen. I know you guys by now, or it was just a little bit too complicated. Because today we're going to talk about the importance of macro versus micro content and how you could structure this and set this whole thing up into your own Instagram strategy, social media strategy. You know, obviously you can use this principle for all of the social media platforms that are out there. Obviously, we're going to talk a little more specific about the Instagram algorithm and how these things play together. And by the way, a lot of people have requested some YouTube tutorials recently. So, you know, if you guys want me to speak a little bit about YouTube, maybe a little bit behind the scenes of this YouTube channel right here, you know, just drop me down a comment below and I will happily talk about some very unfiltered processes behind my YouTube channel, actually. Anyway, let's talk about the micro versus macro content and how you can, you know, implement this whole thing to blow up at some point, probably even. So in order for you to understand this whole micro versus macro concept a little better, we're gonna have to take one step backwards to talk about a very important concept that I call the this could be an interesting profile that I want to follow threshold. And this whole threshold is a lot higher nowadays than what it used to be. You know, in the golden days of the internet, if you will, 1978 until 2019 or something like this, you know, you could just create a bunch of content, throw it just out there, and people were more inclined to actually, you know, listen to what you have to say. This has a lot of reasons why, mainly because the entry barrier of actually creating content online used to be a lot higher. So just by you creating content, you know, people were like, wow, look at this, it's gonna be legit. Nowadays, with the entry barrier being really low, you know, nowadays it's easier than ever to actually create content online. You know, there's a lot of other people out there doing the same thing. So basically it's a lot harder to actually get people to listen in the first place. And even if they check out your content, they might need a few more times to see your content, to consume your content, you know, by chance or something, to actually stick, to become a follower, and then actually to become a fan, which is what all of the algorithms, especially the Instagram algorithm, is after in 21, you know, more or less. Tracking whether you actually do have fans and how they interact with you and whether they actually interact with you more than they would do with some random person. So we've identified our big problem right here. We can't get people to actually start to consume our content more than once. So we need something actually to maximize this initial stepping stone of people entering your microcosm, your content microcosm. We need you to get seen first, to actually get your content consumed first, and then trigger the algorithm to recommend your content to more people. And this is where this micro versus macro strategy comes into play. Let me get on my iPad. I'm gonna have to draw something in order for you to understand this whole thing better. I hope. So basically, let's say, you know, these are an initial group of 5 people that your content is gonna be shown in the explore page, for example, or somewhere. Let me just draw this a little nicer, right? This is the explore page or something where people find your content, right? Now, as we have identified, it takes a few interactions for people to actually start to consider following you. They have to see your content multiple times. They have to find it valuable multiple times in order for them to actually consider hitting follow you, right? So you're gonna have to create content that not only the people enjoy, but that also triggers the algorithm to show it to a bigger subset of people. You know, let's say 150 plus or whatever, to actually then, you know, go more and then have more pieces of content that eventually lead people to follow you. Now, to make the algorithm happy and actually to make the people happy, we need, in our day and age, because that's the way social media works, we need what I call, you know, you got it, micro content. And micro content is basically quick, easy to consume content that hooks you in, you know, that's shareable, that doesn't take away too much of their time because they're in the ADD mode when they're browsing, especially Instagram. Ideally, content that they might save to come back at one point. But basically, and that's the important thing, content that also, you know, carries your macro message, your macro content. And macro content actually being the bigger picture, the bigger part of whatever it is that you create content about, longer formats of content. You know, talking about, for example, you know, off platform like podcasts or blogs or, you know, longer YouTube videos or, you know, maybe even a video like this right here. Basically content that goes much more in depth and that, you know, forms a much bigger connection with your audience. Basically, that's the kind of content that turns those people around to become your actual real fans. I'm not saying it's not possible with just micro content, you know, but just to simplify this whole thing on a general level, let's just assume that this is the case. Now, you know, if you're like, okay, macro content, woohoo, you know, if this is the thing that makes people follow me and, you know, makes people be happy with my content and become my fans, why shouldn't I just create macro content? You know, macro content, you know, could also be, you know, IGTV videos, like I said. Now, the problem with this macro content is, especially on Instagram, it's not content that gets you seen. It's not content that, you know, necessarily gets recommended by the algorithm on a bigger scale because it's not concise, it's not to the point, it's not really shareable on a bigger level. It doesn't really have that viral factor. Why? Because most people are just stuck in their ADD mode on Instagram. We talked about it. They want their quick fix. They want, you know, fast things, to the point things that are happening, and they might not necessarily want to watch a 5-minute IGTV video, for example, or a 20-minute video, or read a long post, you know, of something that you might not even be introduced to some topic or something. Now, what does that mean? You're gonna have to, especially if you want to grow Instagram with you know, great content, you're gonna have to have first of all a mix between, you know, what's going on here? Between micro and macro content, and have your content strategy have micro content especially as a gateway to your macro content. So people at the end of the day follow you and you know, become your fans. You know, now what could be micro content? You know, obviously, and this is, in my opinion, why Instagram has gone away from the, you know, we're the IGTV. We want to make IGTV a big thing, to actually cloning TikTok and, you know, making Reels, because they saw, well, this is where the ship is heading. You know, Reels being, you know, a big form of micro content. You know, Reels, also these carousels. This is why those carousels tend to perform these, like we talk about in one of the last videos, these infographic carousels, because they have some quick fix, because they're like an entrance to, you know, let's say somebody makes some carousels about Instagram growth, which there's a lot of great people around now. It also could be, you know, obviously it doesn't always just have to be on Instagram. It also could be, for example, TikTok, obviously, TikTok content, or, you know, going even more off platform and kind of making a more sophisticated strategy. Pinterest, you know, just some quick hook to actually funnel them over to your Instagram, to them have you know, more micro content to consume, to then send them to your macro content. And this is basically the whole big picture behind a successful Instagram content strategy. And the great thing about this micro content strategy, it not only acts as a gateway to your bigger picture content, but also, and this is an important thing, it especially is a trigger for the Instagram algorithm in 21, you know, because this is exactly what it wants to, right? This is what Instagram's mission is. And then it's basically your thing, what you do with it, you know? You can then, you know, make, you know, think bigger picture, create a podcast, like I said, create a YouTube channel, an email list, or some blog or something like this. You're gonna see that you have more than just a regular Instagram page, for example. You actually have built a real online social media brand that you can build upon, you know? And then it's very easy to inject some, you know, for example, monetization strategies in that, ultimately turning your passion into your income or your job or your full-time gig or something like this. Now, if you'd like to learn more about, you know, building your Instagram brand, especially your social media brand, I have a playlist somewhere here talking about the very latest, you know, strategies and principles to actually grow your Instagram brand. In 21, consider this whole thing as your latest go-to information on how to get there fast, I guess. Anyway, my name's Dominik. That was heavy. I'll see you in a few days, I guess. Yeah, be good, kids. Bye.